Courtney Keil released her debut album, The Good Kind, last year, and since then she has released the singles All About You and Nothin Like a Shore Bet, and her latest, which is Worn In, which features Gina Jeffreys. We're going to talk about the single, and there's also some other exciting things going on in Courtney's life that I'd like to chat to her about. So we'll do that. Hi, Courtney.
Hello. How nice is this to be catching up again? Thanks for having me.
Lovely to see you again. Always great to chat to you, and I always love your songs, so that makes it easy for me to talk to you about them.
Aw.
But I remember when we first spoke, when I first interviewed you at least 2 years ago now, we did talk about Gina Jeffreys then, and I would like to revisit that conversation because some people may not have seen that or heard it. So I'm going to start by asking you, when did you meet Gina?
I first met Gina back at the start of 2020, before all the craziness. I came up to the Central Coast from living in Melbourne at the time and met with her husband, Rod McCormack, who has produced all of my music. That was before we'd done anything. And it was kind of the initial meet and greet to see how, we could all work together. What do I need? And that's when I first met Gina. They hosted me and was so welcoming. And I feel like Gina and I just instantly clicked. It was one of those moments where you're like, oh, I feel like I've known you forever, which was awesome. And as I started working with Rod, obviously then got closer with Gina as well. She took me under her wing and mentored me and has just been a beautiful friend ever since, really. They even let me live with them when I first moved up to the Central Coast. They've been so welcoming and just beautiful to me throughout this whole journey. So we go back a few years now, and she's just such a beautiful, dear friend.
So was it that you'd chosen Rod to produce a song, and if so, why had you chosen Rod in particular?
Yeah, well, back then I hadn't released anything yet, so it was very new to trying to work out what direction to go with. And I'd been working with a beautiful couple in Melbourne, Barbara Hannon and Adrian Hannon, and they knew Rod and Gina and said, "Look, you are very country," because they're more on the pop side of things, and said, "You're very country. I feel like you gel really well with Rod." So I was over in Nashville in 2019, and Rod happened to be there at the same time. So that's the first time I met Rod, which was really cool. It then took me a little while by the time I came back and, life took over, that then I finally reached out to Rod and was like, oh, I'd really, really love for us to finally do something together. Just because I knew obviously how, well regarded he was in the industry, did my homework of looking at who he'd worked with, who he'd produced, and was like, wow, if I can get in with this guy, he's incredible. So it was really, just word of mouth that got me onto Rod, and then obviously meeting Gina through him, it was just all pretty special.
So when you went to Nashville in 2019, was that as a songwriter, or were you just there as a tourist, wanted to see what the whole scene was like?
That was my second trip. So I first went in 2018, if it's testing my years right now. It all feels like so long ago. But yeah, 2018, I went for the first time to the Timpan South Songwriting Festival that they have on, which is such a cool songwriters week essentially in Nashville. So I went over that year, loved it, decided to go back again the second year. The first year was really just being a bit of a tourist and doing a seminar that they had on and kind of dipping my toe in and ticking off that bucket list dream of going to Nashville. And then 2019, it was like, okay, now I really want to kind of meet with some songwriters, try and get to know some people there. And it was really awesome to do some writing on Music Row and, get to know some other people there. Also, then getting to meet Rod. And the day I met Rod, I also met Sam Gay and Templeton Thompson, who have also been my long-term co-writers now too. So it was all pretty special that first day meeting Rod. I met Sam and Tempe and his daughter Jem, who's an incredible producer as well. So it was met them all at once and then came back to Australia. And I think that was in like April maybe. And I didn't reconnect with Rod until December because at that point I wasn't full-time in music. I was just kind of managing everything at once. And then I got to the end of 2019 and went, nah, get on with it. It's time. You need to reach out. You need to connect. And then fast forward 2 months, I'd quit my full-time job and was like, yep, we're doing music. Let's do it.
Yeah, you were very efficient with that second Nashville trip in meeting all those people at once. So, and maybe it's also just there's that whole saying about luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So it seems like you had, by committing to going back that second time, you put some things in place and you were ready to go for it. But when you made that decision to quit your job and do music full time, was it more a sense of, I'm going to see how this works out, or you just felt that it was absolutely the right path for you and that you weren't going to have the plan B that people talk about, you were just going to commit to your plan A?
Well, it's one of those funny things for me. I've always known I'd end up doing music. That's always been the goal. It was more just at the time falling into other careers and being like, okay, I've got to earn money, obviously. But after I was up here on the Central Coast meeting Rod and Gina for that first time, January 2020, it was, I think, the week before Tamworth or the week after. It might have been, it was either side of Tamworth. Like they'd either just got back or were just going. I can't remember which one. But I was flying home, and it was one of those moments where, some people have like that, you hear like an audible voice or you have like this deep knowing. I was sitting on the plane flying home, and I just like was kind of having a little nap, and I just remember hearing this like, quit your job, go into music, just do it. It was like, and I landed, got home, and I went to my parents, and I'm like, oh, so I just had like this voice and I don't know if I'm losing it, but I think I need to quit my job. And they're just like, yep, great, let's do it. Super supportive. At this point, Rod and I were working towards going to Nashville. That would have been March 2020. Didn't happen, obviously. We cancelled the trip 24 hours out, I think, or 48 hours out, because when everything was imploding. But that, weirdly enough, reflecting back, I don't think that was a bad thing not going, because we were able to do just as much. We did everything on Zoom. We were able to still work with all the people we would have worked with. But if anything, we almost had a bit more time and flexibility. If we did the trip, we would have been in and out 10 days, like get on with it. Mm-hmm. But instead we took time, because we all had time, and just took that time to have all the relationships develop. So I feel like I let everything progress a lot more, maybe naturally rather than forced.
Yeah. I love that you heard that message and went with it, because it's not the easier path. Actually, the easier path is to say, oh no, that's ridiculous, I'm not going to do that. Right. So was there something in your life before that led you to think, I can trust this when it comes to me?
I think I've always just trusted my intuition and felt to go with where I feel guided. It's something my parents have always taught me, is like, follow those feelings, trust the instinct, trust the higher power of, whether it's, for anyone, whether it's God or whether it's instinct or whether it's universe, it's like, trust those feelings, go with it. Because I think more often than not, it's probably going to pay off. And if it doesn't, you'll go, okay, why did that not work? What went wrong there? But I think at least if you give it a go and go all in, and if it genuinely feels right, I feel like you're hopefully going to be better off. Yeah, obviously within reason.
So the first single you released with Rod and working with Gina was I Just Want to Hold You. And it seems like, or it sounds like that you did not think it was just going to be one and done. You were just going to do one with Rod and see what happened. You actually had committed by that stage. And so that was always going to be the first of a whole run of singles. Yes.
Yeah. At the time we worked on about 3. So we did I Just Want to Hold You, Party for One, which didn't end up coming out until my album came out, and Hummingbird, which was my second single. So those were the 3 we worked on initially, and then just started adding from there. It was kind of like, let's kind of work towards an EP. And then once we got kind of an EP amount together, we're like, okay, well, naturally let's go for an album now and just keep dropping singles out. So we kind of were deciding on the fly, but with the intention was to, get a few in the bank and start dripping them out.
So the latest of this collaboration is, of course, Worn In. So what is the story behind this song?
This one came about towards the end of last year. I was thinking about how sometimes as humans, we tend to feel a little bit secondhand, a little bit used and abused. And, at times we feel a little bit average, and that sometimes once we pull ourselves back up, there's the magic in that of feeling like, actually, no, I've learned a lot. I think sometimes the best people are the people that have lived and, have big stories. And thought I'd take it to Sam and Tempe, who are the guys I met first back in Nashville in 2019, and have written a bunch of songs with them. And always, sometimes I feel with certain co-writers, I feel gravitated to take certain ideas to. So this was one where I was like, oh, I feel like this is a Sam and Tempe song. So took it to them, we started talking about it. They loved the idea. So we started running with it and incorporating then not just the human side of it, but also the physical side of having a pair of cowboy boots, a guitar, and a ring, significant things that you also have in your life that might feel a little bit secondhand or old or worn in, to, that carry such stories, and they're all the more special because of the age of them and because of the life that they've lived with you.
And was it always the plan to have Gina sing on it?
No, so we didn't write it as a duet. We initially just wrote it. Then I think the first session we did was just the three of us. Then we're like, oh, we should bring Rod into it. I feel like Rod would love this too. So he jumped on with us too as we finished it. Then we shelved it for a good few months. So that was the end of last year. All About You then came out in Feb because we thought, oh, we've got both options. What would be better? We thought All About You is more summery. Let's go with that for summer and keep this one up our sleeve. And once we were coming back to it, I said to Rod, no, I feel like this could be a duet. And he's like, I feel like you need a duet. It would be really good to have a duet now. And really, we started listing people, and, you know, like Rod goes, oh, obviously Gina would do it if you ask her, but, you know, she's not touring heaps. And she said, she's like, try and find someone else that's touring more, or like find someone. And I'm like, Gina, it's you. Like, you know, and she's like, if you can't find anyone else, come to me. And then I was like, I'm not going to, no, like, would you be on it? You know, because I didn't want to ask her and it'd be like, oh no, I'd love, thanks, but no, you know, but thankfully she was like, I love the song. She heard it. And, you know, when we first started kind of putting it down to try, before we thought like we are going to pitch it to people. And then it was like, nah, it needs to be Gina. Gina's the obvious fit, and said yes, put her vocal on. And yeah, it was just beautiful. When I first heard her voice on the track, I was like, yeah, it's exactly what it needed. Just perfect.
Yeah, it's so lovely. The two of you singing together is absolutely great. And it is a good wintry song. So your instincts were right there.
Right?
Yeah, so it does feel like a cozy interior song.
Exactly. And that's what I thought, is like, it gives that nice warm feeling. And, you know, obviously you don't have to match songs to seasons, but it's kind of nice this time of year. I think we kind of all bunker down a little bit, especially here in Australia when it is so chilly. And I just love hearing a warm song that you hear and go, oh, it feels like a hug.
Yeah, yeah. And it is part of your art too, I think, to read the zeitgeist like that. It is, even though, yes, you said we don't necessarily have to match them to seasons. It is great when, as an artist, you can read the mood in that respect and think, well, okay, it is better to follow this summery feeling now and then change like that, because I do think the audience appreciates that, even if it's on a subliminal level.
Exactly. It's just nice to be able to do that. And yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you got a song and you're like, nope, I just want to release this now, and you don't even think about that. But then other times when you can do it, it's just nice. I feel like it works. It's just like that little extra thing that most people probably don't even notice, but as an artist you're like, oh, that works.
Yeah, absolutely. So as discussed, the background of the song is about being worn in, not worn out, and it's also about respecting experience and the value that can bring. So as a related question, are there experiences you've had as an artist that might have tested you or like worn you out, but which turned out to be beneficial?
Great question. I think just more so the resilience of having to pick yourself up, the nose you get, the moments where you think you're going to get that gig or the lineup or the playlist or something, and when they don't happen, you can get a little bit, like, really, like, why is this not happening? Or, you know, I thought I'd be here by now. And sometimes just the pressure you put on yourself, that you do feel that bit of worn out, I guess. You feel a little worn out. And then on the flip side, when you're out and about, you're busy and doing it all, you feel very worn out as well. So I think it's more so just the resilience that I've had to overcome in times of, you know, feeling that bit of doubt about your career and going, is this working? Is it worth it? But, you know, you picking yourself up, persevering, keeping going, and like, no, this is all part of the bigger picture. It's all part of the story. You're always going to get more no's than yeses anyway, and just keep going.
So when you have an idea for a song, do you set aside time to complete that song? Like, or are you a regular songwriter? Are you sitting there and just writing down ideas? Some people would subscribe to the morning pages theory of writing, which is you set aside time regularly and then just write whatever comes up. So tell us about your writing process.
A very irregular schedule, I will say, in my writing. I'm definitely a bit more of a project writer. Like, when I've got a project that I'm working towards or wanting a new single, that's when I'll kind of buckle down and get on with it. Then in the gaps, I kind of let myself have those gaps. I still obviously am always looking for ideas and listening out and writing things that come, but not so much sit down and really flesh things out unless I go, oh, I really feel that one. I probably should write more because it would be great for discipline. You know, but I also enjoy having those moments where you're like, oh, I'm not thinking about that now, I'm thinking more about this, or I'm thinking more about that, and like using the different avenues of creativity, I guess, as well. So you're kind of exercising all the different parts. And but then when getting on writing projects and getting on Zoom with other co-writers and things like that, it's like you throw in the zone, you really buckle down and, you know, I
Mhm.
guess get on with it more or less.
And it's also important to know your own nature as a writer, and some people need to do it regularly, some people don't.
Mm,
And I'm also a subscriber to the belief that for any creative work, the brain's often working on things behind the scenes. So even though you may not be
totally.
doing it all the time, the fact that you can apply yourself and do it when you need to means that things have just been humming away back there.
Oh, I think so, totally. And sometimes when you leave ideas even and then come back to them, like I probably wrote the worn in idea down, you know, a little bit before. And then, you know, sometimes it might be weeks or it might be months. Like some songs ideas sit for a bit. And then when you come back to it, you're like, oh, now it works. You know, I think time, sometimes your brain, you never know, it picks up different things, experiences, things you see, and
Mhm.
then you can pull it all together in the moment when it's right.
Yeah. So you're also teaching singing at the moment, I believe. Are you enjoying being a teacher?
It is fun. I really enjoy it. I work in Gina's Academy of Music, which is awesome. She's very lovely, very kindly offered for me to come teach for her. It's been so special getting to work with some really little kids that have, you know, they're in kindergarten, might be 6 or 7, and this is their first time really getting the experience of singing. And it's gorgeous. It's so beautiful. And just seeing their confidence, like at first really shy, and then once they come out of their shell, it's amazing. But then also I work with some adults that love singing and maybe were told that they couldn't sing or told, oh no, you can't be a singer, you need to do something else, and now are coming back to it because they love it. So I
Mhm.
feel really lucky that I get to work with lots of different people, work with some, you know, newer artists that are needing a bit of mentoring. And I figure any way I can share the things I've learned,
Mhm.
the better, because so many people have helped me along the way. So it's nice to then be able to pass that on, because I think teachers have such a, you know, important part in kids. It's the make or break, I think, sometimes. So I figure if I can be encouraging, help, you know, share what I've learned, I hope that then they take, you know, positivity away from that and can pull that into their lives. Because I think, you know, I've had friends that have had singing teachers in high school be like, oh, you're not a singer, you shouldn't sing, and then they don't sing for 10 years, you know. So it's like teachers have such an influence, and you know, I'm just so mindful of that, of going, you know, encouraging, uplifting,
Mhm.
you know, really really positive, as much as I can be positive in their lives.
There's also the fact that even if they're not technically the best singer, if it feels great, do it. And singing does feel really good. It's
Right.
resonance through the body that means it's actually beneficial for you. And if they're having fun, what does it matter?
Exactly, absolutely. I'm like, it's not my place to judge, it's my place to guide and obviously encourage and uplift, but also still as a teacher, if there's things that they can work on, I'm obviously going to be helping them tweak and guide things. There's not going to go, oh no, that was pitchy, you shouldn't sing. It's like, no, let's work on this, maybe let's try this, let's try that. It's finding different ways to encourage them, and they may not want to be a professional singer, they just want to sing because they love it, which is great. You know, it's everyone's goals are different.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned your song Party for One, and that label does not apply to you anymore, Courtney Keil, because you recently became engaged. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Was it a surprise?
Thank you so much. Very exciting. Yeah, I was very surprised in that moment. I was not expecting it. It was, I, I've kind of was expecting that maybe this year it could happen, or like, you know, anytime you go away, it's kind of like, oh, I wonder if you'll do it this weekend or that weekend. We were away up at Port Macquarie and staying in a beautiful tiny home on the river with a campfire. And my brain was elsewhere, and he managed to set an iPhone up to record it as well. I didn't see that. He put it in the shower, in like against the window that faces out to the campfire. I didn't see it. He comes outside and just like starts talking to me about music and stuff, and then goes, oh, will you marry me? And I'm like, wait, what? We were just talking about music. Hang on a minute. So he completely surprised me. It was proper shock. I'm in the video, you can see me, and I'm like, what? So yes, I was very surprised, and I just was after the shock. I'm like, oh yes, yes, yes. Sorry, yes. I need to say yes.
Yeah.
Not
Well
even
played on his
ringing.
part.
He nailed it. He nailed it.
Now, it may sound corny, but I do love it when people who sing love songs get to have their own love story. And I'm wondering if you feel like you manifested this. And I wrote this question before you mentioned getting that instinctual message on the plane. So I'm now thinking maybe there was a little bit of manifestation.
I hope so. Funnily enough, like for a long time with Gina, we do a bit of manifestation and like even your vision boards, your goals and everything. And honestly, I should be able to pull it up, but I'm pretty sure pretty well the exact ring is what I had on my vision board. Actually, I need to go back and look at it, but from memory, it was pretty well the exact ring, rose gold, everything. And, you know, we kind of always talked about finding the right person. So I don't know, you put things out there and I think sometimes it happens.
And I'm guessing Josh had not seen the vision board, so he didn't know that that was exactly the ring.
Well, I will admit I did give my mum a setting on, you know, a link to one of the jewelers and the setting that I really liked. So when he spoke to my parents, he spoke to my dad first, and my dad said, okay, you're going to have to bring Jane into the conversation. She'll be able to help with the ring. So yes, it is the one, but he could have easily gone rogue. He could have gone rogue.
He could have, and that is also your
It was just a suggestion.
It was, yeah, and it was a great one, and it's a lovely ring.
But I didn't think about the vision board until this moment. Now I hadn't put 2 and 2 together, so there you go.
I know someone else who to whom that happened, where they had a ring on the vision board, and their now husband managed to create it. So there you go.
That's cool, isn't it?
It is pretty cool because it means they're paying attention. And however, it was not the only new thing you got while you were in Port Macquarie. I believe there was a new puppy as well.
That's correct. So we officially pick him up in about a week, but we had the official meeting, and it's a golden retriever, and he's this little fluff ball. So gorgeous. So that's also why I wasn't expecting engagement, because I was like, we're going to see a puppy. I'm not, like, my brain was not there. I was looking cute, fluffy, furry thing. Yes. So it's very exciting to, you know, have a little fur ball coming as well. So it's going to be fun. Good little family dog, I think.
Well, my best friend just got a golden retriever puppy, having had a golden retriever before, just in case you need some recommendation about the breed.
Right.
She always loved the golden retriever so much that she got this new dog who was the cutest puppy I've ever seen.
Right.
They're delightful.
Oh, they're so gorgeous. And, you know, meeting the breeder and seeing all the puppies in the litter, they're like, you just see them all in this little pile of fluff, and you're like, can you get any cuter? Like, and just got to remember those moments, I guess, when he's not sleeping, or like, you know, needing toilet breaks at 2 a.m. I'm just going to remember the cute.
Yeah. It will be the first few weeks. I'm tripping over my words, Courtney. The first few weeks will be a test, and I'm tripping over my words because I'm thinking of cute puppies. There you go. The puppy joins
That's a good reason.
It is. The puppy joins your horses. Are you able to ride regularly?
I hope so. Yeah. So I usually get out for a weekly ride. If I can, I'll try for 2 rides, but I have a beautiful Icelandic horse, and I lease him. So he has me as a rider, but he's got another lady that if it's school holidays, she'll go out and ride him too. So he gets plenty of love throughout the week if I'm not there all the time, but I try and get out at least for 1 or 2 rides a week. And it's just really nice to clear your mind, get out in nature. And he's beautiful. He almost is like a big Labrador or retriever in personality. He looks like a giant Shetland pony because he's Icelandic, and they're like really hairy and lush looking, but eats anything, really cheeky, stubborn, escapes out of like every paddock you put him into. So he's a bit of a Houdini.
Right. And he's very handsome by the look of him on your social media. And I said horses. I thought there were 2. No, there's just the one.
So. Well, he has his paddock mate Magni, who they're both Icelandic. So you'll probably on my socials, you see both of them.
Yes, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, they're uncle and nephew. So that wherever they go, the other one goes, you know.
Now, you and your fiance have a podcast called End Up Here. Why did you decide to start that?
I've been wanting to start a podcast for a little while. I thought, maybe I could do a music one, but I was like, that's niche in itself, and I've got to have enough knowledge and info and, you know, find a way to pull it all together. And Josh had wanted to do his own one for a little while, and just on a whim one day, I was like, why don't we do one together? Like, we can bring music, my knowledge and people I know from that side. He's in fitness and health, you know, and well-being. I was like, you've got a lot of people on that side, and just thought, we know lots of interesting people, and it's really cool once you start talking to people and ask them, how did you end up here? How did you get to this point in your life, your career? You hear a lot of really cool stories. So that was really the premise of it. We, I guess, kind of decided on a Tuesday. I think we had episodes recorded by the weekend, and we're like, let's just roll with it. So it's been awesome. We've got a bunch all pre-scheduled out, I think at the moment till the end of July or August or something like that. And just really enjoying talking to people and hearing, I guess, all the amazing things that they've lived and learnt over their lives.
So how are you researching your guests? Is it initially been drawn from people you know?
Yeah, starting there and then I guess working out. We've yeah, mainly been so far going through, like we both just made lists of people that we know or kind of know
Yeah.
and just going, okay, cool, like start there. And then we have our, goal people that we're like, okay, they're on the goal list. Obviously it's like you got the top of like Ryan Reynolds that you're like, one day we'd love to have him on the show. And then, all the way through to different, local artists or sports people. And, we're just slowly pushing it out on our channels and just enjoying it more than anything. It's just a nice, fun passion project and hope people are getting something out of it because we are.
And look, there are a lot of podcasts. However, it's great when there are podcasts like this where there's a niche that someone else isn't doing, and it's also down to your personality. So I hope you continue to enjoy it. And it sounds like you do have a lot of content. And speaking of content, there's my segue. I've been following you on TikTok for a while, and I know that you don't post just music content. Although I will note that Hummingbird in particular has been a TikTok sound that's gone up.
Yeah, it likes it.
Yeah, but you recently posted a video about self-image, so that's some sort of content you do, but it can be hard to keep up with all the different platforms. So I'm wondering if you're enjoying that content making side of things as well as the podcast.
It's definitely tricky getting across all the platforms. There was a while where I had TikTok and then wasn't using it, and then I honestly like ebb and flow a little bit. I know there's that whole thing you're meant to be regularly posting, multiple a day, and I'm like, I don't have the capacity for that. But I'm enjoying it, having a bit of fun with it. I know that I'm not a comedian. I know that it's like I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. It's like I'm jumping on the bandwagon, having a bit of fun with it, and just trying to connect with different people in different ways. I think at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do on social media, and it's just fun to try and use different angles. And I thought if I'm able to share, whether it's about body positivity or mental health, about my music, animals, just try a bit of everything. Try not to get too stuck in a niche. Just have fun with it.
Yeah, and I think it's on brand in that you are a creator and you're a communicator. So as you said, it's about communicating with people, but that's you as an artist as well. I've seen you perform live. You are a very audience focused or audience directed performer. It's not about you trying to show off your vocal skill in that you're not unnecessarily doing trills, all that sort of thing. It's actually, I'm perhaps putting this clumsily, but it's a really warm, connected experience. So it seems to me like it's a continuation of that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think obviously a lot of social media is so polished. So it's that hard thing of like, how do I make it look real, but polished, but this, but it's like you sometimes can overthink it. That sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, we're watching State of Origin. I have no idea what's going on. Let's make a TikTok out of that, And then you have the other stuff as well of like the more polished side. So it's like I try to find a little bit of a balance.
And speaking also of audience connection, you have the Gympie Muster coming up in August. So how many times will that be for you at Gympie?
It'll be my first Gympie ever.
Oh, I actually can't believe that.
I know. I'm so excited. Yeah, very first Gympie booked in. So it's going to be great. I don't know what to expect. Like you see all the photos, videos, everything from previous years. And it's just really cool to be in the mix, to be performing and get to just experience it. So I'm so thrilled.
So will that be a band show?
It will be. Got a band locked in. Got Mel Lancaster on drums, Simon Johnson on bass, and Blake Dantier on guitar. So it's going to be a good band. I've played with them quite a few times, so we're really pumped for it. Just been working on the set, getting it sorted. Got to think about the outfit because I'm like, oh, it's a big festival. I've got to do a festival outfit, So it's going to be great. And yeah, band show. We're going to have some. Most of my songs that have been singles, some covers that I love to do, and just a bit of a mix. It's going to be great.
So will this be the same band that joins you in September in Gosford, because you have a show at Gosford RSL?
Correct. And yes, it is the same band. It sure is. These guys are so good. And it's nice when you find those people that you click with, but also when they know your stuff, it's like, hey, are you free for this? Are you free for that one? It's a lot easier rather than sending it to new people and saying, can you go learn all this stuff? So it's really nice when they're relatively local and willing, and just obviously phenomenal musicians. So yes, they'll be at Gosford RSL as well, which I'm very looking forward to in September.
I think tickets are on sale now, and by then you'll have
they
your
sure
coffee, so you may be a little but
I know, I'm just like falling asleep. Everyone will know why.
Well, it seems like it's already been a really rich, lovely, full year, and will continue to be so. And Courtney, as ever, great to talk to you. Thanks for your time.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate you.